I'm Arun Sundararajan. I'm a professor at New York University and author of The Sharing Economy.
Perfect. So tell me, what brings you here?
Well, I came here to speak about platform power, the sharing economy, and the new digital reality. Fundamentally, how digital platforms are the future of business, how they rival nation state governments in their power today, and how a lot of what we think of as normal is going to be very different in the next 10 to 20 years because of these digital platforms.
So could you tell me like a headline of what your conference was about?
Well, if you look at a wide variety of physical world industries, accommodation, transportation, real estate, healthcare, energy, these are starting to be changed by digital technology. So it's not just the publishing, music, video, social networking. Platforms are causing changes in how we organize economic activity in very physical world industries today.
Could you explain from your point of view a little balance of how technology and digitalization have changed the world in the past 15, 20 years?
Well, I don't think that we have seen a technology change the world as rapidly as digital technology. The way that we think about how you get your music, think about how you get your entertainment, think about how you stay in touch with your friends, think about how you got your accommodation on your last visit, on your last trip, think about how you get your transportation when you need a car. All of these things are very different today than they were even 10 years ago. And as I look forward to the next 10 or 20 years, the pace of technological change has picked up. And so how we earn a living, how we interact with other people, which entity has government-like power, all of these are going to change.
So yeah, I wanted to ask you about future because I feel like we are missing this human contact, and like all technology are coming back because I don't know, maybe we miss that. Do you think that in the future they are gonna be together, like the retro stuff and new technology, or technology is gonna change so much that we are gonna forget about how things were 20 years ago?
Well, I think one of the you can edit, right? Okay. So one of the themes of the last 150 years has been how technological progress takes us further apart. People were writing about this in the 19th century as well, and that is seemingly true of digital technology. Instead of meeting your friends, you interact with them on Facebook. Instead of speaking to someone, you text message them. But one of the things that fascinated me about the sharing economy, about platforms like BlaBlaCar, Airbnb, is that they are reintroducing some human contact into everyday economic activities. You don't just sit in the train by yourself. You sit next to someone in a car and have a conversation while you're traveling from one city to another. So I think one of the true promises of the sharing economy is that it taps into that yearning that we have for human connection, and it allows us to get it, but not in a dedicated way, but as part of getting some other thing that we need, like a ride or a place to stay or a meal.
That's true. And what about robots? Like, my big fear is like, are robots gonna dominate the world? Are they gonna take away our jobs? What is gonna happen? Because they're here, like around the corner, like they're getting here.
Well, I think there are certain industries in which quote-unquote robots are going to replace human labor for sure. In 25 years, a lot of trucks will be driven by themselves, and so robots will replace truck drivers. A lot of people who work in retail, in checkout, will see their jobs taken by machines. A lot of people who work in factories, the industrial robots will certainly start to do more and more of what humans do, and that has already started to happen. But this is not new. In many ways, we have always automated, using the technology of the day, what human beings used to do. We automated clothes making 200 years ago. Over the last 100 years, we have automated a lot of farming. And so as machines start to do some of the things that humans used to do, the economy always creates new things for humans to do. So anything that involves a lot of complexity. And it doesn't have to be a very sophisticated activity. Like cleaning your apartment is something that it will take a very long time for a robot to figure out how to do, because it is a complicated activity. Anything that involves empathy or connection or care, I think like the human beings will continue to have the advantage. So although robots are likely to take over a lot of what human beings do today, this is not new. Robots or technology has always automated human labor, and the economy always expands opportunities in different ways for human beings. I mean, think about 100 years ago, the tourism industry hardly existed. Today it is Spain's #1 industry. And so there are new things created as the old things are automated.
Hopefully there won't be robots that do journalism. They don't take away my job.
Well, if I had to choose between speaking to you and speaking to a robot, I would speak to you any day. So,
Thank you.
can count on me.
So we can find here many big companies that have been working forever, and new startups and new entrepreneurs. What would be your piece of advice to those young people who want to make new companies and bet for technology and digital machines?
Well, I have 3 things to say to people who are entrepreneurial. The first is, if you want to start a big company, don't go after a simple opportunity that can make you some quick money. Go after big opportunities. There are still huge opportunities in healthcare, in energy, in real estate, for new digital business models. And the people who go after that, like Airbnb did for hotels, like Uber and Cabify are doing for transport, that's where you can create a new multi-billion-dollar enterprise. The second thing that I would tell them is that entrepreneurship is not just about creating a giant company anymore. I think in 20 years, a majority of the workforce will be entrepreneurs, but just working for themselves. Like, in the 20th century, a full-time job was the norm. In the 21st century, being an independent entrepreneur, but not starting a company, just working for yourself, will be the norm. And the third thing I would tell them is that invest in understanding the technologies. Understand blockchain, understand a little bit about artificial intelligence, understand a little bit about the augmented reality technologies. You don't have to become a programmer, but if you understand a little bit about how the technology works, you're much more likely to spot the business opportunity before someone else does.
You mentioned blockchain. I didn't know anything about that until last night that I read an article that explained that perfectly fine. Well, I don't know, but could you explain that to me, but in a super easy, simple way for people that don't know anything about it?
So think of the blockchain as a distributed database. So where information about an individual can be reliably stored, but not in a central database like Facebook or Google, but in a way that is on everybody's computer, that is transparent. Everybody can see the transactions, but also anonymous, meaning that you can see the transaction, but you can't see who has made the transaction. And nobody can, change what has been written into this ledger of sorts. So this is, in a nutshell, what the blockchain is. So, but if you think about a decentralized, anonymous, immutable, distributed database, immediately you start to see that the potential is immense. We have seen payment systems emerge, like Bitcoin, that allows you to clear a transaction without the need for a third-party intermediary. I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. In the future, a whole host of identity and reputation systems, the ability to connect with a musician and get their music directly, to allow journalists who produce good content to capture the value that they create. The crowd in some ways running the market. I think that this is a lot of the potential of blockchain technology.
And last question, you mentioned the bitcoins. Do you think that that's the future? Like regular money is gonna disappear, or what's your feeling about that?
Well, I think Bitcoin is a fascinating experiment. I think that it has solved a problem that has vexed computer scientists for a long time. How do we have peer-to-peer payment that is secure, that is anonymous, and that is also decentralized? However, although perhaps 10, 20, 30 years from now, some form of cryptocurrency is likely to be as mainstream as Apple Pay or as euros, I don't think that it will be Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will be the experiment that stress tests the model and that shows us where the weaknesses are. And then it will take 2 or 3 more generations beyond Bitcoin for us to create something that is as reliable as a credit card or as reliable as a banknote.
Anything you want to add? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.